Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're tuning in. Welcome to this second webinar within the context of the Dominican Month for Peace in Venezuela 2021. This second meeting that we're having as an international Dominican family has as its objective to reveal to us the reality and the challenging history being lived by Venezuela, specifically the order of preachers within our country. In the last webinar, we shared the experience of Venezuela, the situation of democracy, and the relations between Venezuela and the Holy See. And today we will come to know the whole reality and life experience that the Dominican friars, the sisters, the laity, and the young people live in this country. My name is Humberto Rito. I'm part of the Justice and Peace team of Venezuela, part of the organizing team of the Dominican Month for Peace. And with me in this sharing, we're going to have today some Brother Jose Juan and Sister Dilcia, who will share the reality of Dominicans in Venezuela. We're filled with joy to be able to welcome all those who have joined us on this day from different parts of the world, from Venezuela, many from the U.S. Thank you for being here, for being present in this meeting. And also, thank you so much for your concern for our country, Venezuela. Before we begin, I would like to introduce you to Brother Jose Juan de la Paz from the Order of Preachers. He is licensed in education, social sciences, major in paleography, candidate for a master's in history of Venezuela, and he is the associated with the University Pontifical Salesian University in Rome. He's the current novice master of the Vicariate of Venezuela of the province of the Holy Rosary. Good morning to all those who are listening and those who are with us. It's a pleasure to share with you on this day part of what our presence in Venezuela is at this time and in our history. And at the same time, the reality that we're living as a Dominican family within this land of grace, as it was dubbed by Christopher Columbus in 1498 on his third voyage. I'd like to share a presentation of about 20 minutes. It's almost impossible to say everything that needs to be said of the history of this past century, the presence of the order in Venezuela. But you have a text which has been sent to you, which is a little bit more extensive, and I'll try to, in an overview, tell something about the Dominican family's presence in this land of grace. Humberto, if you would please allow me to. Yes, you can share your screen, brother. Very well. So let's speak now about the history and the current challenging reality of Venezuela, which I have witnessed, as well as Sister Dilcia, who will be with us after me. In this information, let's work on two principal points: the historical data that informed our mission in Venezuela, and also the presence of the statistical data of the present year. So a brief introduction. Sometimes we think that history is the accumulation or a chronological sequence of dates, but this is not the case. Nor is it a remembrance of a yesterday that is gone, as the popular song says. The photos that you see there are photos of friars and sisters and so forth, but they say nothing to us, these photos. Each of these persons have a name. Everyone represented in these photographs has a name. They have an experience. They left something behind. They have something to say, something to tell, something that reminds us of their lives, their presence, their dedication, their mission, in their presence of the order in our country. So now I move to the beginnings of all of this, before entering into this current century, a little bit talk about what is the arrival of the order in Venezuela. The order arrives in Venezuela through the same community from Hispaniola in 1514. That project of wanting to make a good foundation. The friars of the community of Santo Domingo, led by Brother Pedro de Córdoba, are sent. They send a group of friars. They were Brother Francisco de Córdoba, Juan Garcés, and Antonio Montesinos, the ones who gives the famous, who 3 years before had given the famous sermon. Antonio Montesinos goes to the eastern part of Venezuela, and he made some excursions with the Spaniards and these conquistadors who go into then these friars go into martyrdom in 1515. But the friars do not lose courage, because in that same year, in September, they come with another community with the intention to continue this evangelization work in the eastern part of Venezuela. This fails because of the incursion of the conquistadors. And in 1520, the indigenes massacre 2 of the friars of the community, as well as some Franciscans who were present there as well. Time goes by in the attempt to create a process of a more pure evangelizing presence, free of any kind of violent influence from the Spanish. They try to do it with a bishopric in the eastern part of Venezuela. That's the first formal presence of the in South America of the church. And this process throughout the 16th century continues. And then the Council of Trent changes the dynamic of life, of religious life, and of the church. Everything will then center on the conventual life. And from conventual life is where certain territories will be treated as missions and are attended to ministerially. And this is how this continues until the 19th century, where the majority of the neoliberals throughout Europe and in America, the Americas, will challenge the basis of the church and of religious life during those centuries. The policies and decretals from the governments destroy religious life little by little. First men's religious life, and then women's, and then the men's convents, and then eventually in 1864 getting rid of the women's convents. But this doesn't stop here. The seed of the church remains in the hearts of the people, and years later there is an attempt to restore the order. And it's with the presence of a friar from France who comes through Trinidad and reaches Caracas, who wants to restore the presence of the order. His name is Bertrand Cotonnet, and he comes to know the life of the order, especially in the city of Caracas, in the capital. A young Venezuelan seminarian becomes interested in becoming a Dominican. And he wants to work among the youth, and he is interested in knowing this person, this Friar Bertrand Cotonnet. And Bertrand moves the heart of this young seminarian, and he decides to enter the presence of Lyon, changing his name to Ildefonso Maria, taking that religious name. And then after years later returning to Venezuela, a few years after returning to Venezuela, he becomes interested in restoring the order in our country. And this permits him to make contacts, to restore the confraternity of the Rosary to the laity, and to look for a place to establish the order. He has relations with the bishop, who establishes a little chapel in the central part of the city, which is the Sacred Heart Chapel. And this bishop, Gregorio Obregón, who's the patron of this chapel, gives it on perpetuity to the order so that it can establish itself. But this young man dies in 1900, and the order will have to wait 3 years. and it will not be from the province of Lyon, but the province of the Holy Rosary. And the Rosary Province assumes this work. Why the Holy Rosary Province? Because at that time, in 1899, 1900, the independence process of Puerto Rico, Cuba, and Philippines was underway. So since the province was established in the Philippines, many friars had to emigrate to Spain. So looking for a place of mission, Venezuela was offered to them as an option. And so they were established. They came here in December of 1902. They cannot arrive directly to the chapel. It's not convenient. So they are established in the Capuchin Father's residence until the 7th of March of 1913. They take, and officially the order is restored in Venezuela, in that little chapel of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And in that chapel, time will pass for about 7 years, and they will refound the magazine, the Review of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which will then publish and make known the charism of the order and who we are through that publication, that monthly periodical, and will also animate, motivate. We have one of the restorers of the order present on the right, in the upper part of right hand, Brother Manuel Alvarez, and he was one of the promoters in the Rosary for the restoration of the order. Seeing now that the situation in Philippines gets normalized, the friars want to return to Philippines, and they consider leaving behind their work in Venezuela, and they hand it over to the province of Bética in 1907. But 3 years have to go by before the friars of the Bética province can assume the work in Venezuela. And they assume it, they take it on, in that very Church of the Sacred Heart in 1910. In 1913, the provincial, Father Juan Casas, arrives, who will take on the missions. And years later, in 1916, now that the forum of the church was very limited, there was less space to work in. They decide to construct a much bigger church, which turns into the Basilica of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which you see in the photograph. And one of the collaborators in this work is Blessed Jose Hernandez, who was beatified recently in April, at the end of this year, April of this year. This is the Church of the Restoration, which is still there and is now, it's been a parish since 1925. Years later, in 1974, we're given territories more toward the west of Caracas to build a little chapel in honor of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, a particular devotion of one of the ladies of that place. In Campo Alegre, where we are now established, the community of Caracas, and there is built the first of a founding stone in 1936 of that chapel, and that's where the convent will be built on the eastern side of the church. One of the needs of the place, because of the needs of the place, they decide to build a school, which as of 1949 begins to function. And it's the School of St. Thomas, which we still have to this day. We've had it for more than 60, 70 years. As you may recall, the Father Provincial in 1913 arrived, and he takes on the mission in Barlovento, 2 missions, and it's in Rio Chico and in San Jose. The fathers worked very hard at that mission, and in both places they built beautiful churches and majestic churches. The one we have in front of us is the one from Rio Chico, Our Lady of Mercy, built in the colonial style. And in San Jose, the church, a neo-Gothic church, very unique in that area, built by Father Jose Sapico, known by all as the Apostle of Barlovento, a man who worked very hard and gave his life with great charity for others. and his constant process of canonization is ongoing. Later, in the central area, they built another church. The parish of St. Dominic de Guzman. And there you will see the presence of the order. Right now, there's a limited number of friars there, which has compromised our work there. And the San Martin School is one of the schools in the province of Bética, which is in the population of Barlovento, and which today is still around and still functioning to this day. And now we pass to the province of Our Lady of the Rosary. Normally, the province of the Rosary, toward the 1950s, we see that after World War II, there's a civil war in China, and between the different parties in the Communist Party with Mao Zedong, all the religious life in the church has to leave China because of the persecutions which is perpetrated against the members of the church. And so an opportunity arises to the Holy Rosary province, the territories to the west of Venezuela. But why? Because the province of Colombia, since colonial times, had its territories of mission, and after the restoration, could be taken on as of 1925. And in 1948, 49, the master of the order had been asked to hand over those missions to the Church of Venezuela. There is a resistance coming from the missionary friars within the church, and there is a solution under the master of the order, Manuel Suarez. They asked the church of the Holy Rosary, since the brothers are leaving China, for them to take that on. And so the friars arrive in the city of Trujillo in 1951, and they will take on the administration of a school of the diocese, and they will change its name to Francisco de Vitoria. This situation is challenging, and in the end, the friars, years later, they leave and they leave the school, but the presence of the friars does not stop in that area. They work in different areas and parishes and so on, and they start building churches in all the western part of the country, and part of the plains, and Mérida, Trujillo, Barinas, and part of Zulia State and Apu, principally. Here we have a photo of the cathedral of what is today the Cathedral of Apures, St. Ferdinand of Apures, one of the churches built by the friars of the province of the Holy Rosary, a splendid and beautiful church, which today it is in the possession of the see of the church there. And now we go a little more to the north to Barinas City, and we see the school, which is going to be taken on by the friars, and we're still there to this day, not only as teachers, but also there's also a radio station there. And so that ecclesial educational mission collaborates with the local mayor. We're also present in the parish of the place where the friars arrived. It's Our Lady of Mount Carmel Parish, which is still where we still work and maintain the apostolate in that area. Now we go to San Cristobal, which is one of the first places that were taken on by the friars. And we find there this majestic church, which can be seen from visible from different parts of the city, and is known as the parish, more known because more than the name of St. Dominic, because of this emblematic, iconic angel in front of it. It's 4 meters high, made from glass fiber, and it makes a church very identifiable. And there is established the parish and the Cristo Rey School, which was taken on by the friars, and the convent of St. Dominic of Guzman, which is on the other side of the block. From there, you can also see the different houses and little towns and things in the vicinity. Now we go to the northeast, to the city of Barquisimeto. And years later, the friars built the Parochial Church and the house that is dedicated to, under the advocation of the Holy Spirit, and which today we still have a presence there. The mission there is, above all, concentrated on education and retreat work. There's a seminary and schools and retreats, retreat house nearby. And now we go to the west, to the city of Maracaibo. There is the sanctuary, the shrine of Saint Martin, and a school that works there, which was later lifted to the status of a parish. And there, the friars attended to various communities, related churches, and have an apostolate that developed there in the area of that southern region of Maracaibo. In general, prior to the creation of the new entity and becoming a vice province, there's more than 100 friars who throughout the process of this century put all their work and all their heart into, in many aspects of mission, catechetical, overseeing confraternities, apostolates, pastoral attention to communities, parishes, in various sectors, not only in the cities, but also in rural areas. And the generous self-gift of these friars has been immense. And we can see the amount of apostolates and works that they were doing silently, quietly, in the little towns and parish churches and schools. It would be we'd need too much time to talk about all of those works of those friars, as much from the Bética province, from the Holy Rosary province. The Venezuelan people already have a more recent history since the 1980s. We decided to, with the Master of the Order, that there should be Venezuela should take on, with local clergy, native clergy, should take on the work of the order in Venezuela. And so after Vatican II, many friars were missing. The vocations weren't that strong as it had been before in Spain. And there was a scarcity of numbers of friars to come from Spain and attend to Venezuela. And so we started developing formation in Venezuela. So this was a path of more than 20 years long path until we were able to, seeing the situation, that the entities started to be restructured within the order, and this new entity that was emerging, and a decision had to be made. Should we become a vice province, or should I remain connected to another vicariate? And so there was as a vicariate of Bética, it was erected, but then it was decided that in order to continue forming us, those of us who were young at the time, Holy Rosary took us on as a vicariate, and then in the sense of working toward a vice province until today, we work. And recently, in August of this year, given the circumstances of what happened with the Rosary province, the novitiates were made more local in the province. And one of the novitiates was this one, established in August of this year in the city of, in Spain. It was decided to create the novitiate in Venezuela, and to do all the formation here and not outside of Venezuela, and moving towards the creation of the vice province. Let us now look at the presence of the order in Venezuela of all of the Dominican family. These are some statistical data from this year. We have, in principle, in the beginning, of course, the friars. Saint Dominic. It was created in the 22 of December. We arrived in Venezuela in 1514. in the middle of 1514, and we were restored 7th of March, 1903. What are some of our works or missions in Venezuela? We have the presence, we have in Caracas, in the state of Miranda, in Lara, Zulia, Táchira, and in Bainas. Those are the places where we are. We have 2 formation houses, one in San Cristobal and the other one here in El Carmen, where we have the novitiate currently. In terms of education, we have 6 schools, 6 parishes, and 1 radio station, which is barely 2 years old. Well, a year and a half since its foundation. And that continues in the city of Barillas. 715 FM. And we have 15 works in total, with a community of friars, of 19 in total throughout the vicariate in Venezuela. And now we go to another community. Now we go into the communities of the sisters, the congregations present in Venezuela. The first native Venezuelan sister, the first native community was founded by Mother Georgina, the Sisters of St. Rose of Lima in the city of Mérida, founded in 5 July 1900. It is one of the congregations that has the greatest presence in our country, having 32 apostolates throughout its territory, and also especially in the western part of the country, as we can see, in the area of in Colombia and Santander, and also in the Amazon jungle of Peru. And the number of sisters that are present in Venezuela and also in these other countries is 117. We continue with the Dominican Sisters of St. Dominic, founded in 1907 in Granada, Spain, by Mother Teresa Titus Garzón. She arrives in 1923 to Venezuela and works with Bética province, which is near the Sacred Heart Church, and then works through a territory to the east of Caracas is given them to build their school called St. Rose of Lima. Their presence, these sisters' presence in the country, we see it in those 5 places, and they have missionary works, missions, 2 dedicated to formation, 9 in education, and 1 in the social service, especially in Barlovento. The total number of sisters in Venezuela are 29 from this congregation. We continue with the Dominican Sisters of Charity of the Presentation, founded by Blessed Marie Buspin in France in 1696. And they arrive in Venezuela in 1939. Their works are 10 in total, 1 in formation, 4 to education, 2 to health ministry, 1 social ministry, 1 working with the elderly, and 1 other apostolate. Within the country, the total of sisters from this congregation in the country of Venezuela are 22, I think he said. The Dominican Sisters of the Holy Family, known also as the Canary Island Dominicans, were founded by Brother José Cueto y Díaz de la Maza. He was the bishop of Las Palmas, Gran Canaria, in Spain, and together with Mother Pilar Prieto Vidal. And in 1895, they were founded in the Canary Islands in Spain, and they arrived in Venezuela in September of 1953. And will be in Apure, and they will collaborate in a mission with the friars of the province of the Rosary. Today, they only have 3 places, really, 1 in Barillas and 2 in the city of Caracas. They have 1 educational apostolate, 1 vicary, and 1 dedicated to social service. There's 12 of those sisters in the country. Now we continue with the Sisters of St. Catherine of Siena, founded in Colombia by Father Saturnino Gutierrez and Mother Gabriela de San Martin, founded in 1880 in Colombia. They arrived in Venezuela in 1961 with the help of the Bishop of Valencia, of the Catechetical Secretariat, and they will dedicate themselves to 2 schools. They arrive in 1961, and they are here in the country working to these are very elderly sisters. The majority are very ill. They're in Valencia and in the central area. They have 2 schools. There are 5 of these sisters. And we arrive to the Dominicans of Our Lady of the Rosary of Fatima, which is a Puerto Rican congregation founded by Mother Dominga Guzman Florit in 1959 in Puerto Rico. And they arrived recently. They're barely 2 decades old in Venezuela, arrived in 1998, and they started some native communities here. 2 are here in the eastern part of the country, and the others are in Puerto Rico. Their works are dedicated to parish work and social service work in the eastern part of the country. And you can see that in a little purple circle. There are 2 sisters in total. And one of them has a postulant from the eastern part of Venezuela. So they're trying to remain here. Now to the lay fraternities. We're going now to our Dominican laity, and we have 12 fraternities, 12 communities in total. One that it used to exist around 1970. But now we have 12. 11 depend on the Holy Rosary province. Now the most recent one depends on the province of Spain, of Hispania, and is working on that process of integration, become integrated in terms of Venezuela. Let's say this is one of the apostolates of the Dominican family that has grown the most exponentially. And we continue to start closing with our beloved youth. The LNJD group, the Dominican Youth Movement. There are 2 groups currently formed by the Torch group, the Dominican Torch group, and the St. Dominic of Guzman group. These first communities were born because of the Dominican Sisters of the Rosary and their apostolates and their schools, and the other came from the parishes and from communities where the friars have been present. These are the other 6 communities formed by the Santo Domingo group. We don't have the data because of the pandemic and because many have had to emigrate. That's why the data is not very exact about each of these movements. Each of these groups of the Dominican Youth Movement. To conclude, I'd like to offer thanks to our older brothers for that life, that surrender, that self-gift of friars and sisters who have made it possible for us to be here. May God bless you from all of us here in Venezuela, and may this history, our history, ample but simple, may we continue to walk with the grace of God under the maternal protection of Our Lady of the Rosary through the intercession of our Holy Father, St. Dominic. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. It's been a pleasure to accompany you, and may God bless you. Brother Jose Juan, thank you for your words, and thank you for giving us knowledge to all of us of this rich history that the order has had, the order of preachers has had in Venezuela. You, the Dominican friars, are the first priests to arrive to our country. Thank you for all of this overview of your work throughout the country and for helping us to know the communities there. I'd like to take advantage of this opportunity to greet those who are joining us now from the United States, from Venezuela, and from the Philippines. And in the chat, which is shows in the lower part of the screen, if all of you might please let us know where you're connected from, so that we can include that information and share it with everybody. Thank you so much for those of you who are joining us in this second webinar that we are having on this Friday. The following person to join us, second panelist, is Sister Dilcia. Sister Dilcia will reveal to us something about the social apostolates that the congregations of the sisters and the friars are undertaking in our country. Sister Dilcia will accompany us. Up until a few moments ago, in her convent, there was no electricity. They had a blackout, which is something very common in our country of Venezuela. So we are attentive to her, awaiting her arrival, so she may be able to share with us the social apostolates of the Dominican family, the friars, the sisters, the laity are undertaking in our country. Thank you, Brother Jose Juan. Thank you to all who are writing to us right now in the chat. Thank you to those of you who greet us from different parts of the world. We would also like to, throughout this morning, invite those who are able to connect with us through the social media of OP Venezuela and Peace. There you will find all the material that the team has prepared for this webinar, for this month of Dominican Month of Peace, which has been a month of grace for Venezuela. Our Instagram is at jp.ope. He's going to write it. I'm going to write it here in the chat so that everybody can access the Instagram, and also so that you may follow us through this social media and begin this work of the Dominican Month for Justice. We would like to greet the Dominican missionaries of the Holy Family connected from Venezuela, from St. Dominic of Guzman School. We would like to also greet Liliana, who accompanies us from New York. Liliana, for many years, has been a part of the Justice and Peace team of Venezuela, and currently she is in the United States, and from there she continues to work with us. Thank you to the brothers from the United States for this initiative to meet, to be able to work, and to be formed in this special month of Dominican Month of Peace. We would also like during this morning to greet Brother Brendan from Chicago, the promoter of Justice and Peace who is with us from North America in this webinar. And we would also like to greet the Dominican Sisters of Venezuela who are accompanying us on this day. To all those who have written in the chat, to the private chat as well, thank you for accompanying us. Thank you to everyone for being with us here today. We would like to open a little time for questions to be able for all those who accompany us about some important data, information about what Jose Juan has just shared with us, the things that he has expressed about the history of the order in Venezuela. If there is some question, please type it in the chat, and we would be most happy to share some answers with you. Very well. I'm Brother Miguel. I'm also a member of the Justice and Peace team in Venezuela. And I would like to apologize for the technical difficulties we've been having connecting with Sister Dilcia. The goal today was a little bit to present the presence of the order in Venezuela and its history, in order to later speak concretely about the mission that is currently being undertaken by the order in Venezuela. I know that Sor Dilcia is connecting, but if we could please respond to a few questions. Brother Miguel, what are some of the areas on how the Dominican family is present as a family? Could you please comment, give some concrete examples? This was a question from a friar in the United States. Thank you. Very well. The work that we are carrying out as a Dominican family is fundamentally what we began with justice and peace. Each entity carries forth its works, and we had the opportunity to meet at certain points or on certain important dates for the order, but there was no project that could be carried forward in a specific way. We have begun this work with the work through the work of justice and peace since about 2016, 2017, where we did one united through justice and peace. We elaborated a proposal for ministry that we have carried forward with the collaboration of everyone. And now, during the month of Dominican Month for Peace, has given us two important opportunities. One, it's offered us a space to look at our reality with a certain degree of objectivity, with an attitude of listening to the signs of that reality in a useful way, to look for tools from the perspective of study with professionals who could help us to analyze our reality. I think that's been very important. I think it's a work that the Dominican family should take advantage of, not only to just have this event for the Dominican Month for Peace, but to make, I think it's an effort that is worth it to keep continuing it. Another thing that this has given us, this Dominican Month for Peace, is the possibility to propose a proposal for ministry, for work that could be shared by the whole Dominican family, and that could also impact the reality that the Dominican family is seeing, the reality that the Dominican family is denouncing, which has many factors to it, very complex, that has brought us to this current situation of a humanitarian crisis, which is so complex. But the Dominican family has wanted to focus or to point out that we should see the importance of democracy for everyone, because I think that for Venezuela and for the Dominican family in Venezuela, it's extremely important to keep this in mind, that we should see democracy, democracy in our country, especially in Venezuela, that we are not living. The democracy we're not living in Venezuela, to not live in democracy has had some consequences that have affected all of the national life, and has led us to, in our judgment, to this current situation of humanitarian crisis, which is so complex. And so we've proposed a common work which should be oriented toward strengthening democracy and citizenry, civic engagement in our country. And so there are other works that from now, as of this project of the Dominican family, there's an effort to connect as family and to support the works that we already have, which are fundamentally works of education, schools. We have plenty of schools, more than 30 schools is the number that are all over the territory of the nation. We have 6 parishes. Also, in the part of the sacraments is also important. And also there are social works like orphanages. The sisters carry out a lot of social apostolates. There are some schools for poor girls and also for boys. We also have the situation of humanitarian crisis, which has made us work also in solidarity with the poor, with the neediest. And these are works especially in procuring food, nutrition for people, be it through in the parishes or etc. And so this is some of the work also of medical attention for the sick. Only one datum can situate us, give us an idea of what we're going through. If the minimum salary is between $2 and $4, then you have to invest to find food more than $170. For no matter how much a whole family might work hard, getting $4 a month, it's going to be very difficult. So there's truly a situation of extreme poverty, which is being suffered by the population in a crushing way. And this is the reason why outside of the country there are more than 5 million emigres from Venezuela. And this number will keep rising. The universities that study this phenomenon of displacement and the situation of the country point out that for however many obstacles they try to put on the border, emigration will continue if the situation does not improve. So that's a little bit what I can answer to your question. Thank you, Miguel. And now we know that there's much more to say. I am Brother Brendan, co-promoter of Justice and Peace in North America. It's a great honor that you're present here a brief history, a profound story. Thank you for presiding and for showing us the reality of because that Sister Alicia hasn't been able to be with us because of a power outage. And now for the next, we have another webinar coming up. For those who are with us in this event, I ask, is there any possibility for Sister Alicia to participate? Is there a chance for her to connect? She is not here. No, she's not here. No, she's not here. Okay, well then, the next event will take place on the 22nd of December at 1 p.m. Caracas time, and you'll receive the information through social media so you can connect. Thank you so much. God bless you. God, thank you for everyone's attention, for coming here to be with us at this great, wonderful event. May God continue to bless Venezuela. Thank you. I also wanted to give thanks to the whole Dominican family in the United States for this initiative and for their initiative and for the work that you're doing, trying to listen firsthand to the reality. I would like to inform you that all of the work of presentation that has been undertaken, all these presentations are written, and we will provide this information so that you can see it in greater detail. There's also some information about some works, social apostolates that are underway in the Dominican family, that the Dominican family in the U.S. Encouraged us to make known what are the needs, the particular needs that these works have. Since I cannot present you the sister or Sister Alicia, I will let you receive this information directly. Agreed. And thank you to Friar Jose Juan for helping us to understand the deep and long history, very interesting history, and also to the interpreters on this day, one into French, one into English. And thank you for their patience, and also thank you to Dominic for presenting on the Zoom platform on this day. Thank you to everyone. Greetings to all. We continue to pray with Venezuela so that there can be a free Venezuela. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you. Blessings to all.